In the veiled embrace of eternal fog that shrouded the coastal village of Ether's Edge, where the ocean's breath mingled with the earth's sighs, and the horizon dissolved into a dreamlike haze, Alara wandered through her days like a shadow cast by a fading light. At 28, she was an artist adrift in a sea of unspoken regrets, her once vibrant spirit dulled by the relentless grind of routine. The ancient lighthouse she had inherited from her grandmother, Isolde, stood sentinel on a rugged cliff, its weathered stones etched with the passage of countless storms. This tower was more than stone and mortar. It was a sanctum of solitude, a place where the stars, on clear nights, seemed to lean down and confide ancient secrets to those who dared to listen. Alara's mornings unfolded in grayscale monotony. She rose with the reluctant dawn, the fog pressing against the lighthouse windows like curious ghosts. In the cramped studio atop the spiral staircase, she mixed paints on a palette scarred by years of indecision, crimson bleeding into sapphire, gold flecked with shadow. Her brush danced hesitantly across canvases that captured ethereal landscapes, swirling nebulae of color that echoed the cosmos, yet remained hidden in the dim corners of her haven. No eyes beheld them save her own, weary and critical, reflecting the doubts that had followed her from the city. There, as a graphic designer in a gleaming tower of glass and steel, she had poured her soul into designs that were discarded like yesterday's sketches. The layoff had been a quiet blade, severing her from purpose, driving her back to this misty exile where the sea's roar mocked her silence. Anxiety wove through her like the fog itself, a subtle undercurrent that tightened her chest during sleepless hours. She paced the lighthouse's circular rooms, fingers tracing the constellations carved into the wooden beams by Isolde's hand. Orion, the resilient hunter; Cassiopeia, the enduring queen. Symbols of strength drawn from myths that spanned cultures and centuries. Isolde had been a weaver of stellar lore, her voice a melody that painted the night sky with tales of guidance and fate. "The stars whisper to those who seek their legend," she would say, her eyes alight with the fire of unspoken adventures. But Alara, trapped in her gray existence, felt only the weight of inheritance, the lighthouse a cage rather than a beacon. One fateful night, as autumn winds gathered fury and the heavens unleashed a symphony of thunder, Alara sought refuge in the lantern room. The glass dome rattled under the assault of rain, lightning fracturing the darkness into shards of brilliance. The wind howled through the vents, a wild chorus that carried an anomaly, a voice not born of storm, but of something deeper, more intimate. It slithered into her ears like silk unfurling. "Follow the fallen stars." Her heart stuttered, a captive bird against her ribs. Was this delusion, born of isolation, or a call from the veil between worlds? Driven by an inexplicable pull, she descended to Isolde's old chamber, where dust motes danced in the flashlight's beam like tiny galaxies. Kneeling before a trunk bound in leather, cracked by time, she lifted the lid with trembling hands. Amid journals filled with star charts and poetic musings lay a map, a parchment of deep indigo, adorned with silver threads that mimicked the Milky Way. Constellations bloomed across its surface, meteors streaking like tears of light, pointing toward a nearby isle shrouded in legend. As her fingertips grazed the ink, memories surged like a tidal wave. Childhood summers under velvet skies, Isolde's lap a throne, her stories igniting Alara's imagination. "Dreams are stars waiting to be chased," her grandmother had whispered, planting seeds of wonder that now, in this storm-lashed moment, began to sprout. For the first time in years, a fragile ember of hope flickered in Alara's soul, warming the chill of her doubts. At dawn's hesitant glow, when the fog retreated like a defeated army, Alara prepared for departure. She packed a satchel with sketchbook, paints, and the map, its edges frayed like the hem of destiny. The ferry from Ether's Edge to the Isle of Echoes was a weathered vessel, its hull groaning against the swells as it cut through waters that mirrored her inner turbulence. The journey was a mere hour, yet it felt like traversing realms. As the isle loomed, a verdant silhouette wreathed in mist, Elara's pulse quickened. The map's lines pulsed with an almost living energy, guiding her to shores where ancient myths whispered of stars that fell to earth, bestowing gifts upon the worthy. Disembarking onto a pebbled beach where waves lapped like gentle confessions, Elara followed a winding path inland. The air was alive with the scent of salt and wild herbs, the ground carpeted in moss that cushioned her steps like nature's forgiveness. But obstacles arose, as if the universe tested her resolve. The first was a dilapidated bridge spanning a ravine, its timbers splintered by recent gales, swaying precariously over foaming rapids below. It symbolized her deepest fears, the chasms of self-doubt that had halted her so often. "What if I fall?" she murmured, the wind carrying her words away. Yet the whisper echoed in her mind. The fallen rise anew. Gripping vines that draped like lifelines, she crossed with deliberate grace, each step a victory over the paralysis within. Deeper into the aisle, where sunlight filtered through canopies of ancient oaks into dappled patterns on the forest floor, Elara encountered souls who would weave into her tapestry. First was Thorn, the elderly fisherman, perched on a driftwood log by a tranquil cove. His face was a landscape of weathered lines, eyes the color of storm-tossed seas. Nets lay tangled at his feet, and he mended them with hands calloused by decades of toil. "Stranger in these parts?" he rasped, his voice a gravelly ballad. Elara, hesitant at first, shared fragments of her quest, the map, the whisper, the pull of forgotten dreams. Over a fire kindled from sea-worn branches, Thorn unfolded his own saga, a life devoted to the waves, dreams of distant horizons sacrificed for a family now scattered like flotsam. "Lost my love to the deep," he confessed, staring into the flames. "Thought I'd chase the horizon once, but duty anchored me. Stars showed me signs, but I turned blind. Don't ye do the same, lass." His words resonated, mirroring Isolde's tale. Her grandmother had forsaken artistic voyages for the hearth, raising kin in the lighthouse's glow. Her dreams dimmed like a waning moon. Elara saw parallels in her own retreat, the city lights extinguished by fear. Venturing further, along shores where tide pools gleamed like scattered jewels, she met Lyra, a child of the wilds with curls like sunlit waves and laughter that bubbled like springs. Barefoot and fearless, the girl of perhaps 10 years gathered shells in a woven basket, each one iridescent, as if kissed by rainbows. "Look, this one's a star fallen from the sky," Lyra exclaimed. Its surface hummed with the ocean's rhythm, cool and alive. "They hold magic wishes. What's your heart's desire?" Elara knelt, her artist's eye captivated by the shell's intricate whorls. In Lyra's innocence, she glimpsed her younger self, unburdened by anxiety's chains. They spent the afternoon wandering, Lyra sharing folklore of the Isle, how conches echoed the stars' songs, guiding lost souls. Through these encounters, complexity hierarchy advanted Thorn's regrets amplified Isolde's sacrifices, Lyra's joy a balm for her wounds. The Isle's beauty unfolded, bioluminescent blooms lighting evening paths, birdsong weaving symphonies. But so did revelations. In quiet moments, Elara pored over the map by lantern light, uncovering Isolde's annotations, notes on resilience drawn from indigenous star myths, where falling meteors symbolized rebirth, not ruin. Parallels deepened. Elara's anxiety, once a solitary storm, now connected her to a lineage of dreamers who had faltered yet endured. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of molten gold and bruised violet, Alara's path led to the heart of the isle, a secluded cove flanked by sheer cliffs, veined with quartz that sparkled like embedded stars. Here, the conflict brewed, a tempest not of weather but of the soul. Visions crept upon her like nocturnal predators. Spectral echoes of her city failures materialized in the gathering dusk. She saw her designs crumpled in boardrooms, heard the echo of dismissive laughter, felt the sting of isolation in crowded streets. Anxiety surged, a vice around her chest, rooting her feet as doubt's vines ensnared her. "You're nothing," the apparitions hissed, their forms shifting like fog. A dreamer without dreams, alone in the vastness. Seeking solace, she entered a cavern mouth yawning in the cliffside, its interior a cathedral of shadows where drips echoed like distant heartbeats. The air grew thick, scented with earth and mystery. Flashbacks assailed her, childhood nights when anxiety first whispered. Isolde's arms a refuge as she recounted tales of Perseus, slayer of fears, his constellation a badge of triumph. But reality intruded. A tremor shook the ground, perhaps from the isle's restless core, dislodging boulders in a thunderous cascade. The entrance collapsed, sealing her in utter blackness. Panic clawed at her throat. Breaths came in ragged gasps, the darkness a mirror to her isolation. Trapped, she confronted the core of her torment, dialogues internal and raw. Why do I chain myself to failure? Why withhold the kindness I extend to strangers from my own fractured self? Tears carved paths down her cheeks, mingling with dust. In the void, empathy bloomed, a gentle dawn within. She recalled Thorn's losses, Lyra's unbridled hope, Isolde's quiet regrets. "We are all stars, fallen and rising," she whispered, her voice echoing back stronger. With hands bloodied from scraping stone, she sought fissures, her mind weaving art from despair, imagining canvases of light piercing shadow, symbols of self-forgiveness. Moonlight, persistent as fate, seeped through a crack like a silver thread, illuminating the cavern's depths. There, etched into the far wall in glowing quartz veins, was a constellation not of legend, but of revelation. Stars aligning to form her own face, eyes ablaze with untapped fire, lips parted in quiet power. The fallen stars were no distant quest. They were her innate talents, the artistry that had always dwelled within, waiting for recognition. The universe's whisper crystallized. Her legend was self-discovery, the treasure her resilient spirit. Empowered, she widened the fissure, emerging into the night as a reborn force. A true storm raged now, winds howling like unleashed furies, waves crashing in chaotic symphony. From the cliff's edge, Alara spied Thorn's boat, a fragile speck tossed in the maelstrom. Drawing from her revelation, she acted, gathering bioluminescent fungi and sketching luminous signals on a flat stone, her art a beacon slicing through the gale. Patterns of light danced across the waters, guiding Thorn to safety. He staggered ashore, grasping her arm. "Ye turned the night to day," he gasped, awe in his salt-rimed eyes. "Saved me with your light." In that moment, Alara understood. Her gifts were not solitary flames, but lanterns for the lost. With the storm's retreat came clarity. Alara returned to Ether's Edge on the morning ferry, the fog parting as if in deference. The lighthouse welcomed her, no longer a prison, but a portal. She transformed it methodically, clearing rooms for communal spaces, hanging her once hidden paintings like invitations. Villagers trickled in, fishermen with calloused hands eager to sketch horizons, children like Lyra painting whimsical stars, elders sharing lore under the revived beacon's glow. Thorn visited often, his stories enriching workshops. Even echoes of Lyra's magic infused the air, through letters and shells sent across the waves. One crystalline night, as Alara stood atop the tower, the whisper returned, not from wind or stars, but from within. The stars are in you. It was her voice, resonant and true, a culmination of journeys internal and eternal. In the resolution's radiant afterglow, she unveiled a grand mural on the lighthouse's facade, a cosmic tapestry where constellations intertwined with faces of the village folk, dreams rendered in vibrant strokes that captured resilience's essence. The town, once muted by mist, awakened. Inspiration spread like wildfire, Ilara's light kindling others. Strangers arrived, drawn by tales of the whispering stars, finding solace in the sanctum. Her art graced distant galleries, but its true power lay in illumination, proving that with faith in one's legend, the universe conspires, and a single inner spark can birth a galaxy of hope, echoing across souls in need. The wind off the North Sea never stops. It just decides how vicious it wants to be on any given day. In Peterhead, it claws at the corrugated roof of Grant's Motors from October to April, then slinks back in June like a bully who's missed you. I've worked under that roof for 32 years. The place reeks of diesel, salt, grinding paste, and the ghost of the roll-ups I gave up when Ewan was 8. The smell is in my skin now. Fiona says the house stinks of the garage. She's right, and I hate that she's right. I am 52. My back aches every morning before I even stand up. My hands are cracked. The nails black half moons no amount of Swarfago will shift. People say I look like a man who's permanently pissed off with the weather. They're not far wrong. Ewan was 19, my only child. Tall, restless, with his mother's dark hair and my own bloody-minded refusal to ask for anything. He had a laugh that cut through the gulls, the diesel engines, and the shouting on the harbor. He worked 3 days a week on a trawler and spent the rest trying to resurrect a wrecked Yamaha that should have gone to the scrapyard years ago. For 2 solid years, I promised him we'd finish it together. The bike sat in the corner of the workshop under a tarp, growing mold and guilt in equal measure. I was never good at saying the things that mattered. My own father beat softness out of me with silence and the flat of his hand. I thought providing was love. I thought if I worked myself into the ground, Ewan would know what he meant to me. I was wrong about that, like I was wrong about almost everything. The night he died was a Thursday in November. The rain came sideways, hard enough to sting your face raw. I was elbow deep in a Scania gearbox that had swallowed a shear bolt. The driver needed it for a Shetland run at first light. Money was tight. Fiona's hours at the care home had been cut again. One more late job, I told myself, and we'd be all right for Christmas. My phone buzzed on the bench. Ewan. I wiped the worst of the oil off and answered. "Da, any chance of a lift? I'm in a pub in town and I'm steaming." I looked at the gearbox, at the clock, 11:30, and at the rain hammering the skylight like it wanted to drown us all. "You're 19, not 9. Get a taxi." "I've no money left." "Then you should have stopped drinking sooner." "Right. See you later then." The line went dead. I stared at the phone longer than I should have. Something cold settled in my gut, but I shoved it down. The job needed doing. 90 more minutes. By the time I locked up, the rain had eased to a mean drizzle. I drove home along the coast road, wipers thumping like a heartbeat I didn't want to hear. The police were already in the kitchen. Fiona sat at the table, still wearing her coat, staring at the wall like it had personally betrayed her. 2 officers stood awkwardly by the sink. One of them said my name like he'd rehearsed it. Single vehicle collision on the A90. Motorbike left the road at the sharp bend just outside town. The words didn't fit together. I waited for the part where they said it was someone else's son. Fiona looked up. Her eyes were swollen, ancient. He rang you. I nodded. And you told him to sort himself out. Another nod. She made a sound I hope never to hear again and walked out. The officers left soon after. I stood in the kitchen until the kettle clicked itself off. I replay that call every single night. I hear his voice, half laughing, half pleading, and I feel the exact moment I chose a fucking gearbox over my own son. I feel it in my teeth, in my bones, in the marrow. I chose metal, money, and stupid pride over flesh and blood. And now he is cold under the ground, and I am still here, breathing. The funeral was hell in a collar and tie. The church was full of boys Ewan's age who couldn't look at me. Fiona wore black that made her look carved from grief. When the minister said, "A young life taken too soon," her grip on my arm was the only thing keeping me upright. She didn't cry in public. She saved it for me. That night, she told me to sleep in the spare room. I have slept there ever since. I thought the pain would shrink. It hasn't. It's grown teeth. Fiona moves through the house like a ghost who hasn't accepted she's dead. She cooks nothing. She speaks only when she must, and then her voice is raw. I leave earlier, come home later. I fix strangers' cars with the same hands that signed the form saying yes, that broken body is my son. Customers say I'm quieter than ever. I think they're relieved. One night in January, I found her in the back garden burning things. Photographs, school reports, the hoodie Ewan lived in. The flames were small and ferocious. "I can't look at his face anymore," she said. I watched the fire eat the picture of him at 14, grinning beside the half-built bike, both of us covered in oil. "I should have gone for him," I said. She laughed, and the sound sliced me open. "You think that's the whole story? One lift? You were never there, Alistair. Not once. Not for parents' nights. Not for football. Not when he cried because some girl tore his heart out. You were always at that fucking garage. He died believing his own father didn't give a damn." She walked away. The fire kept burning until there was nothing left but ash, and the smell of a childhood turned to smoke. Spring came late and mean. The garage stayed busy. People never stopped breaking things. I worked alone now. The young lad who helped me quit after the funeral, he said the air was too heavy. He wasn't wrong. One Saturday in April, the wrecker turned up with what was left of Ewan's Yamaha. Insurance needed it assessed. The driver dumped it in the yard and left without a word. I stood in the rain and looked at it. Frame twisted like a snapped spine. Tank stoved in. Front wheel folded like paper. It looked like it had screamed all the way into the wall. I pushed it inside. That night I stayed after closing. I put on Springsteen, the song Ewan always played too loud, and began stripping the corpse. Every bolt I undid felt like undoing another year of my life. I saw him at 14, laughing because the clutch finally bit. I saw him at 16, asking why I never told him I was proud. I saw him at 19, walking away after I said bikes would kill him one day. They did. At 2 a.m, I was sitting on an upturned bucket beside the bare engine. In the bin, I found the key, still on the stupid skull keyring Fiona bought him as a joke. I held it until it warmed. Then I broke. I pressed my forehead to the cylinder head, still smelling of him, of two-stroke and teenage sweat, and I cried like I have never cried in my life. Not when my father died. Not when Fiona miscarried the baby before Ewan. Never. The sobs came from somewhere older than memory, ugly, wet, and deafening. I wrapped my arms around the engine like it was him, and I begged. I was proud of you every single day, son. Every single fucking day. I just didn't know how to say it. I thought if I kept you fed, clothed, and safe, you'd know. I thought there'd be more time. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Come back. Please, God, come back. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Long enough for the rain to stop and start again. Long enough for the gulls to begin screaming over the harbor. I didn't hear the side door open. Fiona stood there in her coat, hair dripping. She had come looking when I didn't answer the phone. She saw the stripped bike, the tools scattered like shrapnel, me folded over the engine like I was trying to crawl inside it and die. She said nothing for a long time. Then she walked across the concrete, knelt in the oil and swarf, and wrapped her arms around me. I resisted for half a second, old habit, then collapsed into her like a wall that had finally given up. We held each other among the wreckage and cried until our throats bled and our eyes burned, and there was nothing left but the sound of two shattered people breathing the same air for the first time in months. Later, when the sky turned the color of weak tea, we pushed what remained of the bike back under the tarp together. We didn't say whether we'd ever finish it. Some things can't be fixed. Some things you just carry. We walked home as the town woke. I reached for her hand. She let me take it. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe never. But it was something. And for the first time in my entire life, I cried where someone could see me. I cried where someone could hold me while I did it. I will never stop missing him. I will never stop hearing that last phone call. I will never forgive myself. But I am learning, slowly, painfully, that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just showing up too late and staying anyway. I sit here in this cramped, dimly lit apartment in Chicago's Wrigleyville neighborhood. The kind of place where the walls are paper thin and the distant roar of the L train feels like a mocking reminder that life barrels forward, whether you're ready or not. It's January, the wind howling outside like a banshee, rattling the windows and seeping cold into the bones. My name is Nathan Brooks, 35 years old, a guy who grew up in the heartland of Illinois, Peoria to be exact, where days were simple, predictable, and dreams were something you chased in books or on TV. I was the kid who excelled in math, played baseball in high school, and headed to the University of Illinois for a degree in computer science. After graduation, I moved to Chicago for the buzz, the opportunity, landing a job as a project manager at a tech firm in the Loop. Life was building towards something solid. Then came Emily. Emily Carter. That was her maiden name, the one she reclaimed after everything fell apart. We met when I was 26 at a mutual friend's housewarming party in Lincoln Park. It was one of those humid summer evenings where the air sticks to your skin, and everyone is a little tipsy on cheap wine and craft beer. She was standing by the grill, flipping burgers with a confidence that drew me in. Auburn hair tied back, green eyes sparkling under the string lights, and a laugh that cut through the chatter like a knife through butter. "You look like you could use a hand," I said, stepping up, even though I was terrible at grilling. She handed me the tongs with a smirk. "Don't burn them, mystery man." We talked all night about her nursing school stories, my geeky coding projects, how we both loved the Cubs despite their endless losing streaks. By the end of the night, I had her number, and the next day, we were on our first date at a pizza joint in Wrigleyville, sharing deep dish and stories of our childhoods. The relationship moved fast, but it felt right. Within months, we were spending every weekend together, hiking in the Indiana dunes, catching concerts at the Aragon Ballroom, or just lounging in my old Lakeview apartment, watching old movies and dreaming about the future. She was my anchor in the chaos of city life. At 28, we moved into a cozy 2-bedroom in Edgewater, filling it with thrift store finds and memories. I proposed at 30 on a sunset boat tour of Lake Michigan. The city skyline glittered behind us as I got down on one knee. "Emily, you're my everything. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face as she nodded, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like forever. The wedding was small, intimate, a garden ceremony in Grant Park with 50 guests, followed by a reception at a brew pub in Logan Square. Friends toasted us as the perfect couple, the ones who'd make it through anything. Married for 5 years, together for nearly a decade. I believed it. We bought a condo in Wrigleyville and talked about starting a family after I hit 35. My job was steady, and her career as an ER nurse at Northwestern Memorial was demanding but fulfilling. Life was good, or so I thought. But betrayal doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It creeps in, silent and insidious, like fog rolling off the lake. Looking back, there were signs I dismissed as normal. Her shifts running later and later, blamed on understaffing. The way she'd guard her phone, screen down on the table during dinner. Intimacy that felt rote. Her body there, but her mind elsewhere. "I'm just tired, Nathan," she'd say, rolling away in bed. "The hospital is killing me." I'd nod, kiss her shoulder, and let it go. Trust was our foundation. Why question it? I'd surprise her with flowers or tickets to a show, and she'd smile, but the spark seemed dimmer. I chalked it up to life, the grind of adulting in a city that never sleeps. The night it all shattered was a Tuesday in October, the kind of ordinary evening that now haunts my every waking moment. I'd had a rough day at work, a client meeting gone south, deadlines piling up like unpaid bills. I came home around 9, rain-soaked from the dash from the L-stop, craving a hot shower and leftover Chinese. Emily was already in bed, the bedroom door cracked, light off. "Migraine," she murmured when I peeked in. "Love you." I whispered it back, changed into sweats, and flopped on the couch with my laptop to catch up on emails. Her phone was on the coffee table, charging. It buzzed once, then again. I glanced over. A notification from Ryan. No last name, just Ryan. The preview. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." "Last night?" She told me she had a late team meeting at the hospital. My stomach knotted. Who was Ryan? A colleague she'd mentioned casually months ago. Some resident doctor. But this message, it reeked of intimacy. I shouldn't have picked it up. But curiosity is a bitch, and doubt had already taken root. The lock code was 0621, our wedding month and year, a symbol of trust that now felt like a cruel joke. The message thread opened, and my world imploded. Hundreds of texts stretching back 3 years. 3 goddamn years. It started innocent enough. Great job on that code blue today. Then flirty. You look cute in scrubs. Escalating to explicit. Supply closet in 5. Need a break. Photos. Not nude, but close. Her in lingerie I'd gifted her for Valentine's, captioned, "Thinking of you." His replies, "Damn, Emily, you're killing me. When can I see that in person?" Voice notes that made my blood run cold. Her giggling, "Nathan's at work late again. Doors unlocked." His voice, low and arrogant. "You're so much better than him. Passionate, alive. He's just there." The cruelty hit harder than the infidelity. Messages mocking me. Told Nathan I was with the girls. He's such a trusting idiot. Emojis of rolling eyes and laughter. Comparisons that stabbed deep. "You're so adventurous in bed." Nathan's routine, like clockwork. Routine. Is that what our love was to her? A boring habit she endured while seeking thrills? He thinks he's the perfect husband. Flowers, dates. But it's also predictable. Predictable. The word echoed, burning my cheeks with shame. Dates that matched her overtime. Our anniversary weekend when she had to cover a shift. Texts from her to him. "Hotel room is ready. Miss your touch." Our trip to New York 2 years ago. She'd been sending him selfies from Central Park while I was buying us hot dogs. "Wish it was you here, not him." The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was emotional annihilation. A parallel universe where I was the punchline. I scrolled for what felt like eternity, the rain pounding the windows like fists on my chest. My hands trembled, tears blurring the screen, a physical ache spreading from my gut to my heart. How could she? The woman who'd stood at the altar, vowing, in sickness and health, had been carving out my soul for years. The pain was raw, visceral, a wave of nausea that had me rushing to the bathroom, dry heaving over the sink. Every memory tainted now. The way she'd pull away from hugs, blaming fatigue. The distant look in her eyes during dinner conversations. All lies. I felt foolish, small, like a child discovering Santa isn't real, but 1,000 times worse. This was my life, my heart, shredded. Dawn broke, gray light filtering through the blinds. I hadn't slept, just sat there, phone in hand, rereading, torturing myself. Emily emerged from the bedroom, yawning, hair mussed, in her favorite oversized t-shirt, my college tee. "Morning, babe," Coffee? She leaned for a kiss. I recoiled, holding up the phone like a weapon. Who's Ryan, Emily? And don't lie, I've seen everything. Her face drained of color, eyes wide with panic. Not remorse, but fear of exposure. Nathan, how could you go through my phone? That's a violation. Violation? Her words ignited me. Violation. You've been fucking another man for 3 years. Mocking me. Laughing at me. I yelled, voice cracking, throwing the phone on the couch. She sank into a chair, head in hands. It's not what you think. She confessed in bits, like pulling teeth. Ryan is a doctor at work. It started as flirting during a tough shift. I was stressed. You were always busy with projects. Busy? I'd cut hours to be with her. It became more. But it didn't mean anything emotional at first. At first. The implication hung heavy. 3 years, Emily. Messages where you compare us, say he's better. She winced. We were just venting. It made the affair exciting. Exciting. My humiliation is foreplay. Do you love him? Silence, then a whisper. I don't know. It's complicated. Complicated. That word gutted me more than any text. Not a denial, but a hedge. The fight dragged on, me pacing, shouting about trust shattered, her crying, deflecting blame. You're too safe, Nathan. I needed excitement, passion. Life with you is comfortable, but boring. Boring. The man who'd loved her unconditionally, planned our future, was boring. You made me the villain in your story, I said, voice breaking. All those nights I held you, thinking we were okay. You were thinking of him. She sobbed. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. But she had, deliberately, every day. She packed a bag that afternoon, heading to her sister's in the suburbs of Schaumburg. I need space to think. Space? She'd had all the space in the world in his bed. The door closed, and the apartment swallowed me in silence. That's when the paranoia set in. A venomous snake coiling around my mind. Who else knew? Our friends, Mike and Sophie, who we'd double dated with for years. Mike worked in healthcare. Had he seen them? I called him that night, voice hoarse from crying. Did you know about Emily and Ryan? Man, I heard rumors at a party, but I didn't want to stir shit. Rumors. So the circle knew, and no one told me. Thanks for nothing, I snapped, hanging up. Blocked. Then Sophie. Nathan, I'm sorry. She swore it was over. Over? It wasn't. Blocked. Family too. My sister in Peoria. I suspected she was distant, but I didn't want to interfere. Interfere? The betrayal cascaded, friendships crumbling like dry leaves. Social media became a battlefield. Every post from her friends felt like coded mockery. I unfollowed, deleted, retreated into isolation. The nights were the worst. A black void where sleep fled and thoughts tormented. I'd lie in our bed, the sheets still carrying her scent, imagining them together. Laughter in his upscale condo in Gold Coast, bodies entwined, while I lay here, a broken shell. Self-loathing bloomed. Why wasn't I enough? Too ordinary? Not handsome? I scrutinized old photos, picking at my flaws. The slight paunch from desk work, the lines around my eyes from stress. He's let himself go, one message had said. I started running obsessively, pounding pavements in the cold, trying to outrun the pain, but it clung like sweat. Food tasted like ash, weight dropped, but the emptiness grew. Work suffered. I snapped at colleagues, missed details in reports. My boss, a no-nonsense woman named Lisa, pulled me aside. "Nathan, you're not yourself. Take time off." I did, but time off meant drowning in memories. Therapy began a month later, referred by a coworker. Dr. Singh's office in a high-rise in the Loop, with its neutral tones and box of tissues, became my confessional. "This is betrayal trauma," she explained in our first session. "It's like PTSD, hypervigilance, intrusive thoughts, eroded self-esteem." I poured it out. The discovery, the fight, the paranoia. "I doubt everything now. Every person feels like a potential liar." She nodded. "That's common. The brain rewires to protect itself, but it isolates you." Sessions were excruciating, reliving the texts, dissecting my blindness. "You trusted because you loved. That's not weakness. It's human." But it felt like weakness. Progress was glacial. Some days I left angrier. The wound reopened. 6 months post-discovery, the divorce was finalized in a sterile courthouse in downtown Chicago. No kids to fight over, just assets divided like spoils of war. She got the condo. I couldn't bear the ghosts there. I moved to this shoebox apartment, bare walls and secondhand furniture. She took Buddy, our golden retriever we'd adopted from a shelter 5 years ago. Handing him over, seeing his tail wag for her one last time, felt like losing a piece of my soul. "Take care of him," I muttered, voice thick. She nodded, eyes averted. Whispers from mutual acquaintances filtered in. She's living with Ryan now, happy, planning a trip to Europe. The cruelty of it, her moving on while I stagnated. I saw them once, by accident, at a coffee shop in Andersonville. They were at a window table, her hand on his arm, laughing over lattes. She looked radiant, unburdened. He, smug, like he'd won a prize. Our eyes met for a split second. She looked away, but the damage was done. I bolted, heart hammering, bile rising. Outside, I leaned against a wall, gasping, the world spinning. That image replays in dreams, a loop of torment. A year later, I'm a shadow of the man I was. The job is still there, but passion's gone. I go through motions, avoiding team happy hours for fear of pity. Dating? Tried apps, a few awkward dinners. One woman, Megan, seemed nice, but when she checked her phone, Paranoia surged. "Who are you texting?" She left confused. I deleted the app. Friends are scarce. The few left tiptoe around me, conversations shallow. Trust is a foreign concept. Love a dangerous illusion. The pain doesn't fade. It mutates. A constant hum in my chest. A weight that presses down in quiet moments. Emily didn't just cheat. She dismantled me, piece by piece, leaving a hollow man who questions every kindness, every connection. If there's a lesson, it's this. Vulnerability is a risk, and sometimes the cost is your soul. I miss the old Nathan, the optimistic guy who believed in forever. Now I'm just surviving, one day at a time, in a world that feels forever tainted. As we embark on the dawn of this luminous new year, may your spirits soar with unbridled joy, and your journeys be guided by the gentle light of hope and wisdom. Let this be the chapter where your most cherished dreams awaken and unfold, nurtured by resilience, kindness, and the quiet magic of possibility. To all of you, I extend heartfelt wishes for a profoundly happy new year, one overflowing with love that warms the soul, laughter that echoes eternally, and the sweet fulfillment of aspirations long held dear. Remember, each fresh beginning is a canvas awaiting your brushstrokes. Paint it boldly, and watch as the universe conspires in your favor. With nothing more to add, let us begin the video and embark on this reflective narrative together. Imagine pain as an old companion, knocking softly at your door in the deepest hour of the night. You didn't invite it, yet here it is, seeking to be heard with a quiet persistence that echoes through the silence of your soul. Speaking of pain is hard, isn't it? In a world that urges us to wear perpetual smiles and mask our inner storms, admitting our hurt makes us feel exposed, as if we're bearing our very soul to the unforgiving light. We hesitate, fearing judgment or pity. But what if that vulnerability is the key to our freedom? But in this shared space, let's whisper about it together, creating a sanctuary where words flow like a gentle stream, not as a cold lesson etched in stone, but as a warm balm for the heart, soothing the edges of our wounds with empathy and understanding. We'll explore the emotional pain that touches us all in its myriad forms, the departure of a loved one that leaves an echoing void in our chest, a hollow space where their voice once resonated, the farewell to a pet that embodied pure, unwavering love, a companion whose absence turns everyday routines into poignant reminders, or the tearing apart of a deep bond that shatters unexpectedly, like fragile glass under pressure, leaving shards of memories that prick at our thoughts. Because voicing pain doesn't erase it. No, it doesn't vanish like mist at dawn, but it illuminates it, casting a soft glow that makes it less frightening, less monstrous in the shadows of our minds. And in that light, we discover healing, a gradual unfolding like a flower blooming after a long winter. Come, let's walk this path hand in hand, with gentleness and patience, knowing that pain isn't an adversary to be vanquished. It's a teacher in disguise, wrapped in shadows but holding seeds of light that, when nurtured, can grow into something profoundly beautiful. Think about how often we hide our aches behind polite nods and hurried conversations. layering facade upon facade until we barely recognize ourselves. We say, "I'm fine," when our hearts are crumbling like ancient ruins, fearing that sharing might burden others or reveal our fragility in a society that prizes stoicism over sincerity. Yet in that silence, pain festers like an untended wound, growing deeper and more infected with time. What if, instead, we approached it with curiosity and kindness, like greeting a weary traveler? What if we allowed ourselves to name it, to feel its texture against our skin, to trace its contours with compassionate fingers? This reflection isn't about quick fixes or superficial advice that skims the surface. It's an invitation to sit with the rawness, to dwell in the discomfort long enough to honor the beauty hidden in the hurt, the lessons woven into the fabric of our suffering. As we delve deeper, remember, every tear shed is a testament to how deeply we've loved, a liquid pearl born from the oyster of our experiences, and every scar, a story of survival, a badge of resilience etched into our being. Let's begin by gazing compassionately at the many faces pain wears, each one a mirror reflecting parts of our shared humanity. Pain wears so many faces, each one unique and profound, like the lines etched on a cherished face over years of living, telling tales of joy and sorrow intertwined. Consider the loss of a family member, a grandmother slipping away gently into the ether, taking with her the stories of your childhood that she wove like intricate tapestries, the recipes that warmed winter evenings with their comforting aromas, leaving behind a silence that echoes through familiar rooms like a ghost of what once was. It's a void that aches in the ordinary moments, setting one less plate at dinner, the clink of cutlery suddenly sounding lonelier, or catching a whiff of her favorite perfume on a passing breeze, transporting you back to embraces that felt eternal. This isn't mere sadness. It's love reshaped into absence, yearning to be acknowledged and held with the tenderness it deserves. We grieve not just the person, but the future moments stolen. Holidays without their laughter that once filled the air like music. Advice we'll never seek again in times of doubt. Wisdom that guided us like a lighthouse in fog. Yet in this rawness, there's a quiet beauty. The way memories flicker like fireflies in the dusk, illuminating the love that endures beyond the veil of mortality, reminding us that connections transcend the physical. Then there's the goodbye to a pet, that faithful friend who greeted you with eyes full of light and unconditional acceptance, tail wagging through your darkest days like a beacon of hope, offering companionship without a single word of judgment or expectation. Their passing is a pure, innocent sorrow, for their love was unconditional, a steady anchor in life's turbulent storms, grounding us in moments of chaos. Recall how their presence filled your home with warmth, the soft thud of paws on the floor, echoing like a heartbeat, the gentle nuzzle against your hand that melted away the day's burdens. Now, the emptiness feels like a chill that seeps into your bones, turning quiet evenings into lonely vigils where every corner holds a shadow of their joy. But woven into this pain is a lesson in loyalty and tenderness, a reminder of the simple joys they taught us. To live in the moment with unbridled enthusiasm, to love without reservation or conditions. It's a grief society sometimes dismisses as trivial, brushing it aside as just an animal. Yet it cuts just as deeply, honoring the profound bond between human and animal souls, a connection that teaches us about purity in affection. And the emotional ruptures, not always romantic, but deeply felt in their intimacy. A friendship fading like mist at dawn, dissolving gradually until it's gone. A connection fracturing under unspoken strains, cracking like ice under weight. This pain burns inwardly, like a wound that doesn't bleed outwardly, but pulses with every recalled conversation, every shared secret now adrift in the winds of change. It's the sting of betrayal or drift, the realization that what once felt eternal can dissolve like sand through fingers, leaving us questioning trust and permanence. In all these faces, pain whispers to us, "Feel me, don't turn away. Let me reveal the depths of your capacity for care." It's crude in its honesty, realistic in its unpredictability. One day you're steady on your feet, the next unraveling like a thread pulled loose. But it's also beautiful in its authenticity, for it underscores how much we've dared to care, how we've opened our hearts wide despite the risks. These aren't abstract concepts floating in the ether. They're the threads of our human tapestry, each one deserving of gentle recognition and weaving. As we face them with open eyes, we begin to see that pain isn't random cruelty inflicted by fate. It's a call to deeper understanding, an invitation to explore the layers of our emotions with grace. Speaking of pain heals, it's not sorcery or some mystical rite, but a tender act of bravery that requires us to step into the light of our truths. When we clothe our hurts in words, it's akin to opening a window in a stifled room. Fresh air rushes in, easing the heaviness that weighs on our spirits, allowing freshness to circulate where stagnation once ruled. Picture yourself penning a letter to that departed loved one, pouring out the unspoken gratitudes and regrets that linger like unspoken echoes, or murmuring your pet's name to the stars twinkling above, thanking them for the unwavering joy they brought into your days, a light that pierced even the gloomiest clouds. In Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score, we're reminded with profound insight that our bodies harbor these pains, storing them in muscles and memories like hidden treasures of sorrow. But expression sets them free, allowing the soul to breathe anew and reclaim its rhythm. It's a gentle unraveling, where words become bridges from isolation to connection, spanning the chasms that pain carves within us. Look to stories that capture this with raw elegance and emotional depth. In A Monster Calls, a young boy confronts the looming loss of his mother, guided by a mythical monster who insists that truths, our emotional stories, must be voiced, no matter the ache that accompanies them, for holding them in only deepens the torment. Stories are wild creatures, it declares with ancient wisdom, and in releasing them, we find a fragile peace amid the chaos, a quiet that settles like dew on morning grass. Similarly, in Manchester by the Sea, we witness the cost of unspoken grief. A man submerged in guilt after a family tragedy, his life narrowed to routine and regret. When the truth is finally spoken, it does not redeem him, but it forces him to surface, breathless, learning not how to heal, but how to endure the weight of what cannot be undone. These aren't just tales spun for entertainment. They're mirrors reflecting our own struggles, showing that speaking isn't about dissection or cold analysis, but about feeling deeply and sharing with love, allowing our vulnerabilities to foster bonds. It doesn't erase the scars. They become part of our map, guiding us to softer shores where waves lap gently. What if you tried it now, in this very moment? Whisper your pain to a trusted ear, or let it flow onto paper like a river finding its course. In that vulnerability lies strength, a quiet intelligence that transforms suffering into wisdom, turning what was once a burden into a source of insight. But healing isn't passive, a mere waiting game. It invites us to engage actively, to weave our narratives into the fabric of community. Speaking opens doors to empathy, where your story touches another's heart, creating ripples of understanding that extend far beyond your own experience. It's a loving exchange. By voicing your loss of a family member, You might comfort someone wandering in similar shadows, offering them a lantern in their darkness. By sharing the void left by a pet, you validate another's quiet mourning, affirming that their grief is seen and valid. This isn't about perfection. Stumbles and tears are part of the beauty, the human essence that makes us relatable. With time, the words flow easier, the pain less sharp and jagged, evolving into a narrative of growth that inspires. Embrace this practice with kindness toward yourself, forgiving the hesitations. It's the first step in alchemizing hurt into something luminous, a light that not only guides you but illuminates paths for others. Before pain, our hearts present paths, each a choice laden with consequence and potential for transformation. Some boast of it, turning suffering into armor that gleams falsely. See how much I endure, using it to shield vulnerabilities or draw fleeting sympathy from passers-by. But as Brené Brown shares in Daring Greatly, with her characteristic warmth and insight, we can't numb pain selectively without dulling joy too. Our emotions are intertwined like roots in fertile soil. Boasting keeps it alive yet hollow, stealing chances for true evolution and deeper fulfillment. Others ignore it, burying it beneath layers of, "I'm okay," pushing forward as if denial were strength, a fortress against the inevitable. Yet pain doesn't vanish like smoke. It simmers like a storm building on the horizon, ready to overwhelm when least expected. Ignoring denies our wholeness, prolonging the shadow it casts over our days and nights. The most radiant path. Embrace it fully. Listen with tenderness, as you would a frightened child seeking solace in your arms. Transform it into greater good, art born from tears that captures the essence of humanity, empathy extended to the weary souls around you, actions that honor what's lost and plant seeds for the future. Kenji Miyazawa captured this poetically in his timeless words. We must embrace pain and burn it as fuel for our journey, turning adversity into propulsion. In Coco, this unfolds in vibrant hues and heartfelt melodies. Grief for ancestors blooms into celebration, affirming that love defies death and echoes eternally. Embracing means acting with emotional wisdom, planting a garden in memory of a loved one, where flowers bloom as symbols of renewal, welcoming a new pet to perpetuate kindness and heal the heart, or rebuilding after a rift with a heart fortified by lessons learned, stronger and more open. It's intelligent surrender, not weakness, choosing to dance with the ache until it teaches you new steps, graceful and purposeful. In the end, what befalls us is merely the spark, a fleeting ignition in the vast forge of existence. What we forge from it reveals our inner alchemy, the profound magic that resides within every human spirit. Pain from loss can blossom into profound compassion, a gentle force that reaches out to mend the broken places in others, fostering a world where empathy flows like healing waters. It can inspire a life lived with heightened vibrancy, where colors seem brighter, moments more precious, and connections more cherished because we've tasted the bitterness of absence. James Baldwin expressed it passionately in his enduring wisdom. We must say yes to life and embrace it wherever it is found, even in terrible places. For in those depths, we discover the resilience that defines us. Transform your pain lovingly. Heed its whispers as guidance from within. Voice it as a bridge to understanding. Act upon it with purposeful grace, turning shadows into stepping stones toward light. Reflect on this. Pain, though uninvited, is a sculptor of the soul, chiseling away the superfluous, to reveal the masterpiece beneath. It teaches us that healing is not a destination, but a journey. One where each step, no matter how faltering, brings us closer to wholeness. In embracing it, we learn to hold space for our own suffering and that of others, creating a tapestry of shared humanity woven with threads of kindness and forgiveness. Let these words wrap around you like a comforting embrace. You are not defined by your wounds, but by the light that shines through them. Your pain is a testament to your capacity for love, a badge of your humanity. And in transforming it, you become a beacon for those still navigating their storms. Allow it to soften your edges, to deepen your wisdom, to expand your heart until it encompasses the world. For in this alchemy, we find not just survival, but a flourishing that honors every tear, every ache, as sacred steps toward a more luminous self. Pain is raw and real, a universal thread in the human experience. Yet in its embrace, we find deep beauty that transcends the individual and unites us all. Speak of it tenderly, as you would to a cherished friend. Transform it wisely, drawing from the well of inner strength. Act with love, letting your choices ripple outward in waves of compassion. Remember, you're not alone in this vast ocean. This journey binds us in invisible threads of solidarity, reminding us that every soul carries its burdens, and in sharing them, we lighten the load for all. Embrace the waves. They carry you not to despair, but to a new dawn where hope rises like the sun, warm and eternal. May these reflections linger in your heart, offering solace in quiet moments, healing in times of need, and wisdom that guides you toward a life rich with meaning and grace. The world used to feel like it was shouting at me through a megaphone pressed to my ear. Every conversation, every glance, every accidental brush of shoulders on the sidewalk was a threat. I spent most of my 17 years trying to fold myself small enough to disappear. Then, one gray May afternoon in Vancouver, I saw the poster taped inside the window of Black Dog Video on Cambie Street. Summer photography intensive, beginner's welcome, Stanley Park and beyond. 8 weeks, Tuesdays and Thursdays, plus Saturday field trips. Instructor, Lydia Grant. I stood there so long the rain started again, dripping off my hood onto the toes of my sneakers. My finger hovered over the registration link on my phone for 9 full minutes. I know because I counted. On the 10th minute, I pressed submit before the familiar chokehold of panic could tighten. Payment processed. Seat confirmed. No refunds. That was the first time I ever chose to walk toward the noise instead of away from it. My name is Ethan Riley. I live in a narrow townhouse in Mount Pleasant with my mom, who works night shifts as an ER nurse and sleeps with earplugs in. She didn't say much when I told her about the course, just looked at me over the rim of her coffee mug and said, "Good. The house has been too quiet anyway." I think that was her version of crying with pride. The first class met in a converted heritage loft above a weed dispensary in Gastown. The room smelled like darkroom chemicals and someone's very ambitious patchouli phase. There were 12 of us ranged around a long wooden table that still had paint splatters from whatever art collective had rented the space before. I picked the seat closest to the door, backpack on my lap like a shield. Lydia Grant arrived 10 minutes late, hair twisted up with what looked like an actual pencil, camera bag slung across her body like a seatbelt. She didn't do icebreakers. She just said, Show me one photo on your phone that you didn't take for anybody else. Not your brunch, not your girlfriend's birthday. One you took because you needed to. I almost bolted. The photo I had was one I'd taken at 3 a.m. during a panic attack. The streetlight outside my bedroom window cutting a hard yellow rectangle across the ceiling. I'd stared at that rectangle for hours until it stopped feeling like a trap and started feeling like a door. When it got to me, I slid my phone across the table without speaking. Lydia studied it for a long time. "Ethan, right?" she said. I nodded. "This is lonely as hell," she said. "And beautiful. Keep that." I felt like she'd reached into my ribcage and pinched my heart to see if it was still beating. Across from me sat Mia Moreau, who had dyed lilac streaks in her black hair and laughed like she was daring the universe to laugh with her. Next to her was Jordan Park, Korean-Canadian like me on my dad's side, though he was louder about it, always wearing a faded Canucks jersey even though the team sucked that year. Jordan barely spoke, but his eyes tracked everything. After class, Mia cornered me by the coat hooks. "You're quiet, but your picture screamed," she said. "I like that in a person." I managed something between a laugh and a cough. She grinned and punched my shoulder lightly, like we'd known each other since kindergarten instead of 45 minutes. The first field trip was the Punjabi market on Main Street at golden hour. Lydia told us to photograph strangers but ask permission first. My stomach tried to file for divorce from the rest of my body. I wandered past spice shops and glittering sari windows until I saw an old man arranging marigolds into careful piles. His hands moved like he was praying with flowers. I stood there for 5 full minutes before I could make my voice work. "Excuse me, could I take your picture?" He looked up, eyes soft and milk-filmed with cataracts. "Only if you tell me why, Beta." I swallowed. "Because your hands look like they've been kind for a long time." He laughed, gold tooth flashing, and waved me closer. I took 7 frames. He asked to see them. When I showed him the back of the camera, his smile went gentle. "You have a good heart," he said. "Don't hide it." I floated back to the group. Mia high-fived me so hard my palm stung. Jordan gave me a small nod that felt like winning the Stanley Cup. The victories stacked up. The barista at 49th Parallel who let me photograph her latte art. The kids doing bike tricks in the China Creek skate park. The drag queens smoking outside celebrities on a Tuesday night who called me baby photographer and posed like Marilyn Monroe. But week 5 almost broke me. We were assigned a self-portrait series, where I end and the world begins. I spent 3 nights wandering East Van alleys trying to find the edge. I shot blurred reflections in puddles, my shadow stretching too long under streetlights. My empty bedroom with the window open like a mouth screaming silently. Nothing worked. Every image felt like proof that I was still invisible even to myself. I showed up to critique day ready to quit. Lydia pinned my prints to the wall without comment. The room went quiet. Then Mia, brutal and loving, said, "These are coward photos, Ethan. You're hiding behind grain and darkness because you're scared we'll see you." Something snapped. Not anger, relief. She was right. I'd been photographing my fear instead of my life. That night, I went to the beach at Spanish Banks after everyone else had gone home. The tide was out so far the sand looked like the moon. I set my camera on the log, timer for 10 seconds, and walked into the frame. No hiding. Jeans rolled up, hands in my pockets, staring straight into the lens while the wind tried to shove me over. I took one where I was smiling, small, crooked, real. When I printed it large, the smile looked like someone I was just meeting. The final project was a mini solo show at the Roundhouse Community Center. Nothing fancy. 10 prints, black matte board, little white labels with titles I actually wrote instead of leaving blank. I called the series Quiet Rooms. Each photo was a place that had held me when the world got too loud. The 99 Beeline bus at night with rain streaking the windows. The reference section of the Vancouver Public Library where nobody ever talks above a whisper. The emergency stairwell at school that smells like wet concrete and safety. The marigold seller's hands. The drag queen's sequined glove catching the streetlight. My own face on that log at Spanish Banks. Opening night, I wore the one button-down shirt I own that doesn't have a band logo. My mom showed up in her scrubs because she'd come straight from work. She stood in front of the self-portrait for a long time. Lydia asked each of us to speak for 2 minutes about our work. When it was my turn, I stepped forward, and my voice only shook twice. "These are the places that taught me how to breathe," I said. "I used to think I needed to be louder to be seen. But quiet can be brave too. Quiet can be a choice." Afterward, people actually talked to me. A woman with pink hair told me the library photo made her cry because it reminded her of studying for her citizenship exam. Jordan's mom hugged me and said, "You made my son feel less alone." My own mom didn't say anything until we were walking to the car. Then she stopped under a streetlight, looked at me with shiny eyes, and whispered, "I always knew you were in there." I entered the series in the BC Youth Arts Council contest in September. Didn't win, but got honorable mention and a $200 gift card to Beau Photo. Good enough. Some days the anxiety still sits on my chest, like a cat that weighs 300 pounds. But now I know how to move with it. I still take pictures, mostly on film now, because the wait between clicking the shutter and seeing the negative teaches patience. I post them on Instagram. The account has 3,847 followers, which is objectively insane, but the part that matters is the messages I get from kids who say things like, "I thought I was the only one who felt too much." This morning I walked past Black Dog Video again. The poster is gone. Next session sold out in 3 days. But I stopped anyway. I took a picture of the empty window with my phone, just the reflection of the street and my own silhouette holding the camera. The world is still loud. I just learned how to listen without covering my ears. Imagine us sitting on a beach at sunset, the sea whispering ancient secrets as the sun bids farewell in shades of gold and pink. You and I, like lifelong friends, are sharing a warm cup of tea as the stars begin to appear. You've come here with a heavy heart, bearing that pain that entwines the soul like a thorny vine. You love with all your being, but the echo of your affection gets lost in silence. You're not the only one. So many hearts beat to that same incomplete melody, giving themselves to those who don't return it, feeling betrayed or invisible. But listen to me. This isn't the end of your song. It's just a verse that hurts, one that invites you to dance with your own essence. This reflection is my hand extended to you, a warm whisper that says, "You're here," and that's already a miracle. You deserve a love that reflects you, not one that dims you. Let's navigate these turbulent waters together, acknowledging the pain with gentleness, unraveling its shadows with wisdom, and emerging with a hope that shines like the dawn. Because you, with your generous heart, don't need to change for someone else's indifference. You're an untouched treasure, and the world awaits you with open arms. Let's go, step by step, like friends who care for each other's souls. Open the heart and connect with what beats within. Let's ask ourselves gentle questions, as if we were plucking petals from a flower in the quiet of the night. These don't seek quick answers, but invite the soul to breathe. What does it feel like when you pour your love like a rushing river and only receive scattered drops in return? It's as if the universe asks for more, but your chest has already given everything. Why does rejection pierce so deeply, like a thorn that touches the core of who you are? Science tells us that this pain lights up areas of the brain similar to those of physical suffering, making every heartbeat a vivid and stinging reminder. What happens to that inner voice that whispers you're not enough when your worth seems tied to another's affection? It's an illusion, a veil that unrequited love weaves. But beneath it, your light remains intact. These questions are like beacons in the fog, guiding us to validate what we feel without judgment. You're not alone in this tide. I'm here. And together, thousands of hearts like yours beat in solidarity. Unrequited love is like a storm that lashes the garden of the soul, leaving petals scattered and roots exposed. We give the purest of ourselves, time, dreams, vulnerability, and silence responds with an icy echo. From psychology, we know this arises from an unequal dance. One offers an ocean of emotions, while the other barely wets the shore. This asymmetry awakens insecurity, as if the heart were unbalanced on a broken scale. It's not your weakness. It's part of how we're wired, with roots in ancient patterns of connection that make us crave reciprocity. And then, self-esteem wavers, like a leaf in the wind. You might feel as if your value is measured by the affection returned, leading you to doubt your own beauty. But listen to me. This is a subtle trap that pain sets. Your essence isn't defined by another's indifference. It's an eternal fire that burns on its own. Rejection doesn't reflect your insufficiency, but the inability of that connection to flourish. Imagine your heart as a star. It doesn't stop shining because a cloud hides it. Instead, use this pain to remind yourself that you deserve a love that sees you, that celebrates you without reservations. Don't change because of the betrayal. Let it reaffirm your greatness. Because you, with your cracks and your light, are worthy of an affection that wraps you in an eternal embrace. Sometimes, the mind paints enchanted pictures, transforming the other into a perfect dream that binds us with invisible threads. It's as if the soul creates an imaginary garden where everything blooms, ignoring the real thorns. Psychology reveals why we cling. In attachment patterns that fear solitude, we seek approval like air, and every rejection feels like a questioning of our core being. The brain, in its chemical magic, releases rivers of dopamine and oxytocin when evoking that ideal image, creating a soft addiction that clouds reality. We turn the other into a mirror of our deepest longings, not who they truly are. Understanding this is like lighting a candle in the darkness. It's not your fault to fall into that net. It's human, an echo of how we evolved to connect. But recognizing it sets you free. Ask yourself with sweetness, am I loving an idealized shadow or the person as they are? By letting go of that fantasy, like dry leaves in autumn, you create space for a real love, one that doesn't demand pedestals or masks. Don't blame yourself for having dreamed. Celebrate that your heart is capable of such depth. This unrequited love doesn't break you. It awakens you to the truth that you deserve reciprocity, not crumbs wrapped in illusions. You are a living poem, and your story deserves authentic verses. the silence of broken nights, the soul whispers truths that the noise of blind love drowned out. Unreturned loves hurt like roots stretching in search of water. But in that stretching, they grow stronger and deeper. Every tear is a drop that waters the inner garden, teaching us resilience, like a tree that bends before the wind but doesn't break. We learn empathy, feeling in our own flesh the pulse of others' suffering, becoming softer, more connected to the human tapestry. And at the center, we find authenticity. Betrayal doesn't change us. It reminds us that our light is innate, that we must nurture it first in ourselves. Imagine this pain as a tight bud. The squeeze hurts, but it's what allows the wings to unfold. Science shows us that experiences like this forge new neural pathways, strengthening our capacity to overcome adversities. It's not just survival, it's transformation. Use this chapter to elevate yourself. Your heart, wounded but brave, emerges with a wisdom that illuminates paths. Because the great love, the one that corresponds to you, requires a tempered soul, and this fire prepares you to receive it with grace. Embrace the lessons. You're not a victim of unrequited love. You're its brightest student. Now, let's turn our gaze toward you, as if looking in a mirror with eyes of infinite tenderness. Self-love is the nest where the heart curls up, the beginning of a story that depends on no one else. Don't let another's absence eclipse your own affection. Remind yourself every dawn that you are a complete universe, deserving of respect and sweetness. Psychology teaches us that treating yourself with the gentleness you'd give a dear friend rebuilds what rejection eroded. To cultivate this inner garden, try gentle practices that envelop you like a warm blanket. Remember your value like a whispered mantra. You are enough, just as you bloom now. Treat yourself with the same warmth you'd offer someone in pain. Your dignity is yours, unbreakable. Practice self-compassion. Allow emotions to flow freely. Don't punish yourself for crying. Speak to yourself with kindness, like a mother rocking her child. Science confirms that this gentleness reduces the inner whirlwind, calming the soul's waves. Set boundaries like walls of flowers. If contact hurts, step away with grace. Reduce glances at their digital shadows. Focus on your light. This disconnection breaks obsessive cycles, freeing energy for you. These seeds, planted with patience, will sprout into a self-love that sustains you. You are your best ally, and in that inner embrace, you find the strength to fly. Healing is like walking a wooded path at dawn. It takes time, but each step reveals more beauty. There's no rush, only loving presence. Begin by accepting reality like a flowing river. Clinging to what cannot be only stirs the waters. Letting go is freedom, opening doors to the new. Feel the pain in its fullness. Cry, get angry. Validating it is the balm that dissolves it. Seek your network of stars. Share with trusted souls who listen without judging. Talking lightens the load, reminding you that you don't sail alone. Care for your temple. Sleep deeply. Nourish your body with foods that vibrate with life. Move your soul with walks that breathe fresh air. These simple routines uplift the spirit, like roots that strengthen. Launch your energy toward new horizons. Learn an art that sings to you. Travel to corners that awaken curiosity. Reclaim forgotten passions. These adventures reorder the heart, weaving fresh joy. Dedicate moments to silence. Meditate like a whisper to the wind. Write your thoughts like liberated poems. Mindfulness, backed by science, quiets addictive thoughts, returning perspective to you. Each step is an act of courage. Peace comes when you stop battling reality and build bridges toward the possible. With time, the pain becomes a distant echo, and you, renewed, shine with greater intensity. At the close of our chat, close your eyes and feel the pulse of your heart. It beats with a strength no rejection can extinguish. You deserve the best, a love that elevates you, not one that confines you. Imagine a rainbow after the rain. Even this unrequited love has its prism of colors, promising luminous days. Ask yourself with an open soul, will you let a betrayal dim your essence, or use it to reaffirm your radiant light? Will you allow the pain to steal your smile, or build a tomorrow woven with self-love and unexpected wonders? You're not broken for feeling. You're human, deep, alive. Each step toward yourself is pure courage. You deserve a reciprocal affection, one that inspires you like a perfect verse. Be patient. Time lightens the load, revealing clarity. The path continues, and within you burns an unquenchable hope. This unreturned love is ephemeral, but the strength you forge is eternal. Take it as a stepping stone that lifts you toward a true love. Care for yourself with devotion, and remember, the sun always rises anew after the darkest night. You don't just survive, you flourish, beautiful and eternal. As we wrap up this heartfelt journey together, remember that your unrequited love doesn't define you. It refines you. You've poured your soul into caring deeply, and that courage is a beacon of strength. Embrace the hope within. Better loves await those who heal with grace, loving themselves first. You're worthy, resilient, and ready to bloom anew. Thank you for watching. You've been listening to Lilith Sanctum. Until next time.